the St. John of Damascus Orthodox Educational Initiative presents the Damascene Podcast.
Chapter 42. How his body after 9 years was found undecayed. Now divine providence, wishing to show to what glory this holy man was exalted after death, who even before death had been distinguished by so many signs and miracles, inspired the minds of the brethren with a wish to remove his bones, which they expected to find dry and free from his decayed flesh, and to put them in a small coffer on the same pot above the ground, as objects of veneration to the people. This wish they communicated to the holy Bishop Eadbert about the middle of Quadragesima, and he ordered them to execute this on the 20th of April, which was the anniversary of the day of his burial. They accordingly did so, and opening the tomb, found his body entire, as if he were still alive, and his joints were still flexible, as if he were not dead, but sleeping. His clothes, also, were still undecayed, and seemed to retain their original freshness and color. When the brethren saw this, they were so astonished that they could scarcely speak, or look on the miracle which lay before them, and they hardly knew what they were doing. As a proof of the uncorrupted state of the clothes, they took a portion of them from one of the extremities, for they did not dare to take any from the body itself, and hastened to tell what they had found to the bishop, who was then walking alone at a spot remote from the monastery, and closed in by the flowing waves of the sea. Here it was his custom to pass the Quadragesima, and here he occupied himself 40 days before the birthday of our Lord in the utmost devotion, accompanied with abstinence, prayer, and tears. Here also his venerable predecessor, Cuthbert, before he went to Farne, as we have related, spent a portion of his spiritual warfare in the service of the Lord. The brethren brought with them also the piece of cloth in which the body of the saint had been wrapped. The bishop thanked them for the gift, and heard their report with eagerness, and with great earnestness kissed the cloth, as if it were still on the saint's body. "Fold up the body," he said, "in a new cloth instead of this, and place it in the chest which you have prepared. But I know of a certainty that the place which had been consecrated by the virtue of this heavenly miracle will not long remain empty, and happy is he to whom the Lord, who is the giver of true happiness, shall grant to rest therein." To these words he added what I have elsewhere expressed in verse, and said, "What man the wondrous gifts of God shall tell? What ear the joys of paradise shall hear? Triumphant over the gates of death and hell, the just shall live amid the starry sphere," etc. When the bishop had said much more to this effect, with many tears and much contrition, the brethren did as he ordered them, and having folded up the body in some new cloth, and placed it in a chest, laid it on the pavement of the sanctuary.